My name is Abigail, and I'm 33. Last week on my birthday, a box of cupcakes showed up at my door. Vanilla frosting, tiny edible flowers, perfect. The card read, "Happy birthday from Sadie, my sister." We haven't spoken in 5 years, not since our family fell apart over lies and money. My hands shook as I opened the box, memories crashing in. Why now? Is this her apology or something else? I'm still figuring it out. What would you do with a gift that feels like a question? Tell me where you're watching from, hit like and subscribe to unpack this with me. Rain drummed against my apartment window, a steady gray curtain over Portland. I sat at my kitchen counter, coffee gone cold, the cupcakes still untouched in their box. My name's Abigail, 33, and I couldn't stop staring at that card from Sadie. Her handwriting, all loopy and familiar, felt like a ghost reaching out. 5 years of silence, and now this. I grabbed my phone and dialed Harper, my best friend, needing her sharp take to cut through my fog. "Abigail, you okay?" Harper's voice crackled, warm but edged with concern. She was probably at her desk, sketching logos. Her apartment a mess of paint tubes and takeout boxes. Not really. I traced the box's ribbon with my finger. Sadie sent me cupcakes. For my birthday. Out of nowhere. A pause. "Sadie. Your sister Sadie. The one who screwed you over with your stepmom." "Yeah." My throat tightened. "There's a note too. I miss our talks." "What's that supposed to mean?" Harper snorted. "It means she wants something. Don't fall for it. Remember how she played you siding with Diane, selling your mom's house like it was nothing?" I leaned back, the memory slicing fresh. 5 years ago, our family cracked open. Mom had passed, leaving us the house we grew up in, a creaky Victorian with a garden we'd tended as kids. I wanted to keep it a piece of her. Sadie didn't. She teamed up with Diane, our stepmother, who'd swooped in after Dad died. They sold it, split the money, and left me with nothing but a check I never cashed. Sadie called me selfish, said I was clinging to the past. That fight was our last. "I know," I said, voice low. "But this note, it's like she's trying to pull me back. Or pull a fast one." Harper's tone hardened. "She's probably broke or needs a favor." "Don't eat those cupcakes, Abigail. Could be her way of softening you up." I laughed dry and short. "You think she'd poison me? Not literally, but emotionally, yeah. She's done it before." I stood pacing to the window. Rain streaked the glass, blurring the street below. Harper was right. Sadie had a knack for twisting things, making me doubt myself. But those cupcakes with their little edible flowers reminded me of summers we'd spent pretending to be chefs, giggling over Mom's recipe books. We'd burn cookies, smear frosting on each other's noses. Those were the days before Diane, before money tore us apart. "Check the box," Harper said. "Anything weird?" I returned to the counter, lifting the lid. The cupcakes sat in neat rows, vanilla frosting swirled just so. Tucked under the ribbon, I found a folded slip of paper I'd missed last night. My pulse quickened as I unfolded it. Sadie's handwriting again. "I miss our talks." Just that, nothing more. No apology, no explanation. It felt like a hook baiting me. "There's another note," I told Harper. "Says she misses our talks." Classic manipulation. Harper's voice was all edges now. "She's guilting you. Bet you $10 she's after something. Money, maybe. Or she's trying to look good for Diane." I sank onto a stool, the note crumpling in my hand. Part of me wanted to believe Sadie meant it, that she missed me the way I sometimes missed her. But Harper's words echoed louder. Sadie had chosen Diane over me, lied to make me the villain. This note didn't erase that. I texted her, I admitted. Just said thanks for the cupcakes. "You what?" Harper groaned. "Why'd you open the door?" "I don't know. I had to." My phone buzzed on the counter and I froze. Sadie's name lit up the screen, a reply. "Can we talk?" My stomach twisted, a mix of dread and something softer, something I didn't want to name. I showed Harper the text, and she sighed. "Don't answer yet," she said. "Think it through. She doesn't get to waltz back in like nothing happened." I nodded, but my eyes kept drifting to the cupcakes, their perfect frosting mocking me. What did Sadie want? And why did part of me still hope she'd changed? I left the cupcakes on the counter and grabbed my coat, needing air. Harper's warning stuck with me, but Sadie's text, "Can we talk?" burned hotter. I walked to a cafe a few blocks away, the kind with mismatched chairs and too loud indie music. Rain had slowed to a drizzle, slicking the sidewalks. My boots splashed through puddles, each step heavier than the last. I was Abigail, 33, and still letting my sister unravel me. Harper was already there, tucked into a corner booth, her red curls spilling over a sketch pad. She waved me over, pushing a latte my way. "You look like you've seen a ghost," she said, closing her pad. Sadie texted again. I slid into the seat, wrapping my hands around the warm mug. "Wants to talk." Like it's that simple. Harper's eyes narrowed. She's got nerve. What's her angle? You don't just send cupcakes after 5 years and act like it's all good. I pulled out the note, smoothing it on the table. "I miss our talks." Harper read it, her lip curling. "This screams guilt trip. She's playing you, Abigail. Probably needs cash or some favor for Diane's latest scheme." I sipped the latte, the bitterness matching my mood. "You think it's about money, when isn't it?" Harper leaned forward. "Remember how she twisted things during the house sale? Made you the bad guy for wanting to keep it. She's good at that." I nodded, but my mind wandered to a different memory, one I hadn't shared with Harper. The summer after Mom died, Sadie and I sat on the porch of that old house sharing a bottle of cheap wine. We talked about Mom's laugh, her terrible dance moves. Sadie cried, said she felt lost without her. I held her hand, promised we'd always have each other. That was before Diane's influence, before Sadie turned. "She's not that person anymore," I said, half to myself. Harper raised an eyebrow. "You sure people don't change that much? Not without work." I didn't answer, distracted by a guy at a nearby table. He was maybe 30, scruffy beard, typing on a laptop, but glancing my way too often. His phone sat propped up, angled toward me. Was he recording? My skin prickled, paranoia creeping in. I shook it off, focusing on Harper. "I found something else," I said, lowering my voice. "The cupcakes came from her bakery." I looked it up. It's barely hanging on. Reviews say it's a mess, debts piling up. Harper smirked. "There it is. She's desperate. Bet Diane's pulling strings, using Sadie to get to you. Maybe they want you to sign off on some estate nonsense." My stomach churned. The idea of Diane orchestrating this felt too real. She'd always resented me, the kid who didn't buy her act after she married Dad. Sadie, though, she'd eaten up Diane's fake warmth, especially after Mom's death. It drove a wedge between us long before the house fight. The cafe door jingled, and Tessa, the barista, sauntered over with a tray of scones. She was all tattoos and blunt honesty, the kind of person who'd tell you your haircut sucked and mean it as a compliment. "You two plotting a heist?" Or what she teased, setting a scone between us. "Just family drama," I said, forcing a smile. Tessa grinned. "Family's the worst. My brother once sent me a fruit basket after stealing my car." "You get any weird gifts lately?" I hesitated, then nodded at the note. "Cupcakes. From my sister. We don't talk." Her eyes widened. "Okay, that's creepy. You eat them? Not yet. Good. Could be laced with regret." She laughed, heading back to the counter. Harper tapped the table. "See, even Tessa gets it. Don't trust Sadie." I wanted to argue, to say maybe Sadie was reaching out for real. But then my phone buzzed, an unknown number. I ignored it, but a voicemail popped up seconds later. My hands went cold as I played it. Caleb, Sadie's husband, his voice tight. "Abigail, it's me. We need to talk about the cupcakes. Call me back. Soon." Harper's jaw dropped. What the hell? Why's Caleb involved? I stared at the phone, my pulse racing. His tone wasn't friendly, more like he was scared. Or angry. What was going on with those cupcakes? And why did it feel like I just stepped into something I couldn't walk away from? I was back in my apartment, the Portland rain now a steady roar outside. Abigail, 33, pacing like a caged animal, phone clutched tight. Caleb's voicemail looped in my head, his voice sharp, almost panicked. "We need to talk about the cupcakes. Call me back. Soon." My kitchen felt too small, the air thick with questions. Those cupcakes sat on the counter, their frosted flowers mocking me. I hit play again, hoping I'd misheard. But no, he sounded off like he knew something I didn't. I sank onto the couch, staring at my phone. Harper's words from the cafe clung to me, her warning about Sadie's motives. But Caleb. He was a wild card. I barely knew him anymore, just flashes from their wedding 7 years ago, his easy grin, the way he'd promised Sadie would always have my back. That promise crumbled when Sadie chose Diane over me and Caleb just stood by silent. My thumb hovered over his number. I needed answers. I dialed, heart pounding, each ring stretching longer than the last. He picked up on the fourth. Abigail. Caleb's voice was low, like he was hiding from someone. "You got my message." "Yeah." I kept my tone flat, hiding the shake in my chest. "What's with the cupcakes? Why do you care?" A long pause. I heard a door creak on his end, then a muffled curse. "Did you eat them?" he asked, almost a whisper. My grip tightened on the phone. "Not yet." "Why does it matter?" Another pause, longer this time. "Just don't." "Okay. She's not herself. The cupcakes were her idea, but I didn't think she'd actually send them." I stood pacing again, my bare feet cold on the hardwood. "What's that supposed to mean? What's wrong with her?" He sighed, heavy and frayed. "She's been in therapy. Guilt's eating her up about you, the house, all of it. She thought the cupcakes would fix things, but she's not thinking straight." I laughed, sharp and bitter. "Fix things? By sending me baked goods after 5 years. You expect me to buy that? I'm not asking you to," he snapped, then softened. "Look, I'm trying to help. Just don't touch them. Throw them out." My eyes flicked to the box, the note still crumpled beside it. "I miss our talks, therapy or not." Sadie's gesture felt calculated, and Caleb's dodgy answers weren't helping. "Why are you so freaked out?" I pressed. "What's in them? Nothing," he said too fast. I don't know. She's just unpredictable right now." I stopped pacing, anger flaring. "Unpredictable? Caleb, you're not making sense. If you know something, spit it out." "I can't," he said, voice cracking. "Not over the phone. Can we meet?" I froze. Meet. After years of nothing now. He wanted a face-to-face. My mind raced back to the inheritance fight. Sadie's voice shrill, calling me greedy while Caleb stood in the background, avoiding my eyes. He'd never stood up for me, never questioned her. Why was he reaching out now? Before I could answer, a knock at my door jolted me. I glanced at the clock, 10:30 at night, too late for visitors. "Hold on," I told Caleb, lowering the phone. I crept to the door, pulse hammering, and peered through the peephole. Marcus, my neighbor, stood there, his usual easy smile gone, replaced by a tight frown. I opened the door a crack. "Marcus, everything okay?" He shifted, glancing down the hall. "I heard you pacing. Sounded upset. You good?" I forced a nod, aware of Caleb still on the line. "Just a rough night. Family stuff." Marcus leaned closer, voice low. "I don't mean to pry, but I had a brother pull some shady stuff once. If you're dealing with something heavy, don't let it fester. People like that, they'll drag you down." His words hit hard, stirring the ache Sadie left. I mumbled a thanks, promising to talk later, and shut the door. Back to the phone, I caught Caleb mid-sentence. Something about Sadie needing me. My patience snapped. "Caleb, stop," I said, voice like steel. "If Sadie's so guilty, why isn't she calling? Why is it you acting like I'm about to eat poison?" He didn't answer right away, and in that silence my anger grew hot and sharp. Sadie had torn us apart, and now Caleb was dangling half-truths, making me question everything. I thought of the photo I'd found last week, the three of us at their wedding, my smile wide, trusting. That Abigail felt like a stranger now. Abigail. Caleb finally said, "Just trust me on this. Throw them out. I'll explain later." Trust him. After everything, I ended the call, my hands shaking. The cupcakes stared back at me, innocent but heavy with secrets. What was Sadie playing at? And why was Caleb so scared? The phone felt like a brick in my hand. Caleb's words still echoing. "Throw them out. Trust me." I tossed it onto the couch and paced to the kitchen, my bare feet slapping the floor. Abigail, 33, unraveling in my own home. The cupcakes hadn't moved, their pastel frosting almost glowing under the dim light. I wanted to smash them to stop whatever game Sadie was playing, but my hands wouldn't move. Instead, I grabbed my laptop, desperate for answers. I sank into a chair, the rain outside, a relentless hum. My fingers flew across the keys, typing Sadie's name into a search bar. I wasn't sure what I was looking for, but Caleb's panic had lit a fuse in me. The first hit was a local article dated 3 months ago. Sadie's bakery Sweet Bloom was drowning in debt, vendors unpaid, a landlord threatening eviction. The photo showed her outside the shop, smile forced, eyes hollow. My chest tightened. Was this why she reached out? To hit me up for cash? I scrolled further, finding a Yelp page littered with 1-star reviews. Burnt cakes. Rude service orders never delivered. One reviewer, called Sadie Unhinged, said she'd snapped at a customer over a late pickup. That wasn't the sister I knew, the one who'd charm anyone with a laugh. But then I didn't know her anymore, did I? 5 years had carved a canyon between us, and this article was a glimpse into her world, one I wasn't part of. My phone buzzed, snapping me back. A text from Sadie. I really want to see you. Please. My throat burned. She sounded desperate, but Caleb's warning clashed with her words. I ignored the text and kept digging, landing on a social media profile barely active. A post from last year. Sadie at a farmer's market, her booth sparse. The caption read, "Starting over is hard." I stared at her face, older, thinner, and felt a pang I didn't want. Pity, no. It was sharper, like grief for who we used to be. I slammed the laptop shut, my breath ragged. The room felt smaller, the walls pressing in. I stood, needing to move, and headed to my bedroom, where a box of old keepsakes sat in the closet. I hadn't touched it in years, but something pulled me there. I dragged it out, dust tickling my nose, and rifled through faded letters, a cracked mug, until I found it, a Polaroid from Sadie's wedding. Her in white, me in a lilac dress. Caleb grinning between us. We looked happy, unbreakable. I'd believed her vows to stay close, believed Caleb's promises too. Lies, all of it. The photo slipped from my fingers, landing on the floor. My eyes stung, but I wouldn't cry. Not for her. I grabbed my phone again, this time opening my email. A new message waited from Diane. My stepmother's name alone was a punch. The subject, "Let's put the past behind us." I opened it, blood pounding in my ears. Diane wrote about Sadie's gesture, how generous it was, how we should reconcile for family's sake. She mentioned the cupcakes, called them a peace offering, and urged me to call Sadie. Every word dripped with her usual fake warmth, the kind that fooled Sadie, but never me. I shoved the phone away, fury rising. Diane meddling again, pulling strings like she always did. She'd turned Sadie against me, convinced her I was the enemy, when all I wanted was to keep Mom's memory alive. And now she was using Sadie's cupcakes to drag me back into her web. Was Sadie even acting on her own, or was this all Diane's plan? The thought made my skin crawl. I was halfway to the kitchen, ready to dump the cupcakes in the trash, when a noise stopped me. A faint buzz from my phone, another voicemail. I grabbed it, expecting Caleb, but the screen showed an unknown number. My finger hesitated, then pressed play. Sadie's voice filled the room, soft but trembling. "Abigail, it's me. I know you're mad, but please just meet me. I need you to understand. The cupcakes, they're not what you think." The message cut off, her voice breaking on the last word. I stood frozen, the phone shaking in my hand. Her plea sounded real raw, but Caleb's fear screamed louder. What wasn't I seeing? My eyes darted to the cupcakes, their innocent facade crumbling. Something was wrong, deeply wrong, and I was caught in the middle, drowning in questions with no answers. I stood in the park, the air damp from last night's rain, my sneakers sinking into the soft grass. Abigail, 33, heart hammering like it wanted out. Sadie had texted an hour ago, begging to meet here, a quiet spot near my apartment with a duck pond and crooked benches. I almost didn't come, but her voicemail kept playing in my head, that trembling plea, "The cupcakes aren't what you think." I needed to see her face to know if she was lying again. She was already there, sitting on a bench, her blonde hair tucked under a knit cap. She looked smaller than I remembered her coat swallowing her frame. As I approached, she stood, her eyes catching mine, wide and nervous, but with a smile that didn't reach them. "Abigail," she said, voice soft, "you came." I stopped a few feet away, arms crossed. "You didn't give me much choice. What's this about Sadie?" She fidgeted, twisting a scarf in her hands. I froze. It was Mom's scarf, the blue one with frayed edges she'd worn gardening. Seeing it on Sadie felt like a theft, a reminder of everything she'd taken. "I wanted to see you," she said, stepping closer. "The cupcakes, I thought they'd be a start. I'm sorry, Abigail. For everything." Her words hit like a slap, too vague, too easy. Everything I snapped, voice sharper than I meant. "You mean selling Mom's house? Or lying to make me the bad guy?" 5 years, Sadie. You don't get to fix that with cupcakes." Her face crumpled, but she nodded. "I know. I messed up. Diane, she convinced me you were wrong, that keeping the house was selfish. I was grieving stupid. I see it now." I laughed cold and hollow. "Diane, of course. You're still her puppet, aren't you? She emailed me, pushing this reconciliation crap. Is this her idea too?" Sadie's eyes widened and she shook her head fast. "No, this is me. I swear. I've been in therapy working through it all. I miss you, Abigail. I miss us." Her voice broke, and for a second, I saw the girl who'd braid my hair at sleepovers, who'd cry with me when Mom got sick. But then I remembered the bakery article, her debts, Caleb's weird call. This wasn't just guilt. "Then why's Caleb freaking out about the cupcakes?" I asked, stepping closer. "He told me to throw them out." "What's going on, Sadie?" She froze, her hands clutching the scarf tighter. "Caleb," her voice was barely a whisper. "He called you?" "Yeah." Sounded scared. "Said you're not yourself. So tell me, what's with the cupcakes? What aren't you saying?" She looked away toward the pond where ducks glided in lazy circles. Her silence was deafening and my patience snapped. "Sadie, I'm done with games. You owe me the truth. Now." She turned back, eyes wet, but her jaw set hard. "I didn't want to hurt you," she said, voice low. "The cupcakes were supposed to be a gesture, something to remind you of Mom, of us. But Diane, she suggested I send them. Said it'd soften you up." My stomach dropped. "Soften me up for what?" Sadie hesitated, then rushed on. "She thinks you're still holding on to Dad's estate, the last bits of it. She wants you to sign it over, let her manage it." I told her no, but she kept pushing, saying it'd fix everything. I stepped back, my breath catching. Diane again, always. Diane and Sadie still too weak to fight her. So this was a setup. "You're her errand girl trying to scam me out of what's left." No, Sadie's voice rose, drawing a glance from a jogger passing by. "I didn't agree to that. I sent the cupcakes because I wanted to reach out, not because of her. You have to believe me. I didn't. Not fully." Her words sounded desperate, but her track record screamed louder. "I thought of the bakery, her debts piling up." "I read about your shop," I said, voice low. "You're broke, Sadie. Is this about money? You think I'll bail you out after everything?" Her face went pale and she shook her head, tears spilling now. "That's not it. I'm not asking for anything. I just want my sister back." Her tears should have moved me, but all I felt was rage, hot and suffocating. She'd let Diane manipulate her again, dragged me into this mess with her fake apologies and Mom's scarf like some prop. I opened my mouth to call her out, but a man's voice cut through the air. "Everything okay here?" I turned, startled. A jogger, maybe mid-30s, stood a few feet away, sweaty and frowning. He held a business card, extending it toward me. "I'm Ethan," he said. "I mediate family disputes. Sounds like you two could use a neutral ear." I stared, thrown off, my anger faltering. Sadie wiped her eyes, mumbling something about being fine, but I took the card, if only to make him leave. He nodded and jogged off, leaving us in heavy silence. I looked at Sadie, her face a mix of hope and fear, and felt something crack inside me. This wasn't just about cupcakes or Diane. There was something bigger, something she wasn't saying, and it was tearing me apart. I shoved Ethan's card into my pocket, my hands trembling. Abigail, 33, standing in this park with Sadie's tear-streaked face burning into me. The air felt thick like it was choking me. Her words about Diane, about wanting me back, swirled in my head, but they didn't add up. I needed more, needed the whole truth. Not this half-baked story. I stepped closer, my voice low, almost a growl. Sadie, stop dodging. What's really going on with the cupcakes? Why's Caleb so spooked? She flinched, her fingers twisting the scarf into knots. Her eyes darted to the ground, then back to me, and for a moment I thought she'd run. It's not what you think, she said, voice barely above a whisper. Caleb's he's worried about me. I've been a mess, Abigail. The bakery, the debts, it's all falling apart. That's not an answer. I snapped, my patience gone. He called me freaking out like those cupcakes are some kind of bomb. You're hiding something. Tell me or I'm done here. She opened her mouth, then closed it, her lips trembling. A duck quacked nearby, sharp and jarring, breaking the silence. I waited every second, stretching my nerves thinner. Finally, she spoke, her voice so soft I had to lean in. I didn't mean for it to go this far. The cupcakes, I made them myself. I thought they'd bring you back to me. But Caleb, he thinks I went too far. My blood ran cold. Too far, how I asked, my voice shaking now. What did you do? Sadie? Before she could answer, my phone buzzed in my pocket, loud enough to make us both jump. I ignored it, eyes locked on her, but it buzzed again, insistent. I yanked it out, ready to silence it, but Caleb's name flashed on the screen. My stomach lurched. I hit answer, not breaking eye contact with Sadie. What I barked. Abigail, what did you do? Caleb's voice was frantic, almost shrill. Did you eat the cupcakes? Tell me you didn't. I froze, my heart slamming against my ribs. Sadie's eyes widened, her hands flying to her mouth. I didn't eat them, I said, slow and deliberate, watching her every move. But I told you I gave them to you. Why's that got you so worked up? He went quiet, just heavy breathing on the line. Then in a rush, you gave them to me. You're lying, right? Please tell me you're lying. Sadie reached for me, her hand grazing my arm, but I jerked back. Caleb. I said, my voice like ice. What's in the cupcakes? And don't give me that therapy crap. I'm with Sadie right now and she's not talking either. Sadie gasped, shaking her head, but Caleb's voice cut through louder now. You're with her. Get away from her, Abigail. She's not stable. Those cupcakes. She didn't tell me until after she sent them. I found her crying in the kitchen, saying she had to make things right with you no matter what. My knees buckled and I gripped the bench to steady myself. Make things right, how I asked, but my voice cracked, fear creeping in. Sadie was crying now, silent tears streaming down her face, her whole body shaking. Caleb's voice dropped almost a whisper. She wouldn't say. But I found a bottle in her bag, some kind of sedative. I don't know if she used it, but she's been talking crazy, Abigail. About fixing the past, about you forgiving her. The world tilted. I stared at Sadie, her face a blur through my own stinging eyes. A sedative. In the cupcakes. My mind raced back to the box, the tiny vial I'd found tucked inside, empty but with a faint chemical smell. I hadn't told anyone about it, not even Harper. I thought it was nothing, a leftover from her bakery. But now, with Caleb's words and Sadie's silence, it felt like a bomb. Sadie. I said, my voice barely audible. Did you put something in those cupcakes? She sobbed, covering her face, but didn't answer. My phone slipped from my hand, hitting the grass with a dull thud. Caleb was still talking, his voice tinny and distant, but I couldn't hear him over the roar in my head. My sister, the one I'd loved, fought for, mourned, stood there crumbling, and all I could think was that she'd tried to hurt me. Maybe not kill me, but hurt me, control me, force me to listen. And I'd almost let her back in. I backed away, my chest heaving, the park spinning around me. Sadie reached out, calling my name, but her voice was drowned by the blood pounding in my ears. Everything I'd held on to, every hope of fixing us, shattered, leaving me hollow, raw, and alone. I stumbled back to my apartment, the park's damp air clinging to my skin. Abigail, 33. A storm raging inside me. Sadie's sobs. Caleb's frantic voice, that empty vial, they churned in my head, each memory a fresh cut. My hands shook as I locked the door. The silence of my home deafening after the chaos. The cupcake box sat on the counter, a quiet threat. I couldn't just sit here drowning in questions. I needed to act to take back control. I grabbed the box, careful not to touch the cupcakes, and stuffed it into a plastic bag. That vial, small and unassuming, went into a Ziploc. My heart pounded, but my mind was clear for the first time in days. Sadie had crossed a line, and whether it was guilt, desperation, or something darker, I wasn't her pawn anymore. I pulled out my laptop, searching for a lab in Portland that could test food for contaminants. A place downtown, Pacific Analytics, popped up, open late. They handled private samples, no questions asked. Perfect. I threw on a jacket, the bag heavy in my hands, and headed out. The night was cool, streetlights casting long shadows on the wet pavement. My sneakers slapped against the sidewalk, each step grounding me. I wasn't running away this time. I was Abigail, done being blindsided. At the lab, a woman behind the counter, Nora, looked up from her clipboard. Her glasses slid down her nose, and she pushed them back with a practiced flick. Evening, she said, voice calm but curious. What have you got? I set the bag down, my voice steadier than I felt. Cupcakes. And this vial. I need them tested for anything weird. Sedatives, maybe. Nora's eyebrows lifted, but she didn't pry. We can do that. Rush job's extra, but results in 48 hours. You want a full talk screen? I nodded, pulling out my credit card. Whatever it takes. She took the items, her gloved hands moving with precision. As she labeled the vial, she squinted at it, then at me. This looks familiar. We had a case last month, similar bottle, some over-the-counter sleep aid. Not lethal, but sketchy. You okay? Her question caught me off guard, and for a second I wanted to spill everything: Sadie's betrayal, Caleb's panic, Diane's shadow. But I just nodded. I'm handling it. Nora gave me a look like she saw through me, but handed me a receipt. We'll call you. Stay safe. Back outside, the city hummed around me, cars splashing through puddles, neon signs buzzing. I felt lighter, like I'd shed a weight I hadn't named. Testing the cupcakes was a start, but I needed more. I pulled out my phone and searched for the nearest police station. It was a few miles away, open 24/7. Filing a report felt drastic, but Sadie's silence in the park, her tears masking something deeper, pushed me forward. If she'd spiked those cupcakes, I wasn't letting it slide. At the station, the lobby smelled of coffee and old carpet. An officer, Raymond, sat behind a desk, his face tired but kind. I explained everything: the cupcakes, the vial, Caleb's call, Sadie's vague confession. My voice stayed even, but my hands clenched in my lap, betraying the anger bubbling beneath. Raymond took notes, his pen scratching loudly. So you suspect tampering, but you didn't consume anything, right? I said. I've got the stuff at a lab now. I need this on record. My sister's not stable, and her husband's acting like he knows more than he's saying. He nodded, but his eyes were cautious. We can file a report, but proving intent's tough without evidence. Lab results will help. You got any history with your sister that might explain this? I swallowed the weight of 5 years crashing in. We had a falling out. Family money, our mom's house. She sided with our stepmother, sold it out from under me. We haven't talked since until now. Raymond scribbled more, then looked up. Sounds messy. We'll document it, but be prepared. This kind of thing can get complicated. I know, I said, my voice firm. I'm not backing down. As I left the station, the night felt different, sharper. I wasn't just reacting anymore. I was moving, building a case, protecting myself. Sadie had tried to pull me back into her chaos, but I was done being her victim. My phone buzzed in my pocket, Diane's name on the screen. My jaw tightened. Whatever she wanted, I wasn't ready to hear it, not yet. But I was ready to fight. I ignored Diane's call, letting it go to voicemail as I walked back to my car. Abigail, 33. My resolve hardening with every step. The Portland night was alive, a drizzle starting again, but I felt untouchable, like I'd finally grabbed the reins of this mess. The police report was filed. The cupcakes were at the lab, but I wasn't done. Sadie's betrayal, Caleb's evasions, Diane's meddling, they'd pushed me too far. I needed to know the full scope, and I wasn't waiting for answers to fall in my lap. I drove to Harper's place needing her couch and her clarity. Her apartment was a cluttered Haven fairy light strung over a pile of art books. She opened the door, still in pajama pants, her eyes narrowing at my expression. "You look like you're about to start a war," she said, pulling me inside. "I might," I said, dropping onto her couch. I told her everything, the park, Sadie's half-truths, Caleb's panic, the vial. Harper's jaw tightened when I mentioned the lab, her fingers drumming on her knee. "You're not messing around," she said. "Good. But you need more than a lab report. If Sadie's playing games, you've got to get ahead of her." I nodded, my mind already racing. "I'm thinking of hiring someone. A private investigator. Someone who can dig into Sadie and Caleb, figure out what they're not saying." Harper grinned, a spark in her eyes. "Now you're talking. I know a guy. Julian. He's discreet, sharp. Helped a friend track down a shady ex. Want me to call him? Do it," I said. No hesitation. For the first time, I felt like I was building something, not just reacting. Harper grabbed her phone, and within minutes, Julian was on speaker, his voice calm and clipped like he'd seen it all. I laid out the situation, keeping it brief but clear: my sister's suspicious gift, her husband's weird behavior, the family history. Julian didn't flinch. "I'll need a retainer," he said. $500 up front. I can start tomorrow, check their financials, phone records, social media. Anything specific you're after?" Everything, I said. "I want to know why Sadie sent those cupcakes, what Caleb's hiding, and if Diane's pulling strings." "No stone unturned." "Done," Julian said. "I'll send you a contract tonight. Expect updates by end of week." Harper hung up, giving me a look that was half pride, half worry. "You're really doing this? You sure you're ready for what he might find?" I leaned back, staring at the ceiling. "I have to be. I'm tired of being the one left in the dark." She nodded, then disappeared into the kitchen, returning with 2 mugs of chamomile tea. We sat in silence for a while, the kind that didn't need filling. But my mind wouldn't rest. I thought of Sadie's face in the park, her tears, her claim of wanting me back. Part of me still ached for that, for the sister who'd once been my anchor. But then I saw the vial, the empty threat in that cupcake box, and the ache turned to steel. I'd let her hurt me too long, let her lies chip away at me. No more. Harper's roommate Zoe shuffled in, her hair a mess from sleep. She was a therapist, always analyzing, and she caught my tense vibe immediately. "Rough night?" she asked, curling up in an armchair. "Family drama," I said, keeping it vague. But Zoe's eyes softened like she saw the weight I was carrying. "Families can be brutal," she said. "I see it in my clients. Sometimes the people closest to you don't mean to hurt you, but they're too broken to do better. Doesn't make it okay, though." Her words hit hard, stirring a flicker of doubt. Was Sadie broken, not malicious? I pushed the thought away. Broken or not, she'd chosen this path, and I wasn't her savior. "I'm handling it," I said, more to myself than Zoe. Harper shot me a look. "You are, and you're not alone." I sipped the tea, its warmth steadying me. After Zoe went back to bed, I pulled out my phone and opened Sadie's last text. "I'm sorry, please meet me again." My thumb hovered over the reply button, but instead I typed a single word. I hit send, my heart racing. It wasn't much, but it was a line drawn, a refusal to be pulled back into her chaos. I set the phone down and leaned into the couch, Harper's fairy lights casting a soft glow. The room was quiet, but inside I was alive, a fire kindling. I'd hired Julian, filed a report, said no to Sadie. Each step was small, but together they were a wall, one I was building to protect myself. I closed my eyes, not in defeat, but in certainty. I was Abigail, and I was finally fighting for me. A week had passed since I walked out of the police station, my steps heavy but sure. Abigail, 33, sitting now in a sterile waiting room at the Portland Police Precinct, the hum of fluorescent lights buzzing overhead. My hands folded tightly in my lap, the lab results due any minute. I'd sent Sadie that single word no and hadn't heard from her since. Caleb's calls had stopped too. The silence from them both was louder than I'd expected, a void that left me restless. My phone stayed dark, but I checked it anyway, half hoping for a text, half dreading it. The cupcakes were gone, dissected by Nora's team at the lab, and the vial was under scrutiny. Filing the report had felt like armor, but now waiting for answers I felt exposed. What if the results showed nothing? Would I look like the paranoid one spinning conspiracies out of sugar and spite? The door swung open and Detective Sheila stepped in, her clipboard tucked under one arm. She was mid-40s with a no-nonsense braid and eyes that seemed to see through walls. "Abigail," she said, sitting across from me. "We've got the lab's report." I straightened, my pulse quickening. And she opened the clipboard, her expression unreadable. The cupcakes had traces of a sedative diphenhydramine, over-the-counter used in sleep aids. Not enough to kill you, but enough to knock you out for a few hours if you ate a couple. The vial. Same stuff concentrated. Looks like someone poured it into the batter. My breath caught the room tilting slightly. Diphenhydramine. Not poison, but a betrayal all the same. Sadie's face in the park flashed through my mind, her tears, her claim of wanting me back. Had she really done this? I forced my voice steady. "So it's deliberate." Sheila nodded slow. "Appears so. We brought your sister and her husband in for questioning this morning. They're claiming it was a prank, that Sadie wanted to calm you down for a talk. No intent to harm. A prank." The word landed like a slap. I stared at Sheila, my thoughts scrambling. Calm me down. By drugging me. That's their story. It's what they're saying. Sheila's voice was even, but her eyes held a flicker of sympathy. Sadie's sticking to it, says she was desperate to fix things. Caleb backs her up, claims he didn't know until after she sent them. We're not buying it yet. Their stories don't line up perfectly. I leaned back, the chair creaking under me. A prank. The idea was so absurd, it almost made sense, the kind of twisted logic Sadie might cling to. But it didn't erase the violation, the thought of her mixing that sedative into frosting, wrapping it in edible flowers. My stomach churned, not from fear now, but from a deep, aching disgust. "Did they say anything else?" I asked, my voice quieter than I meant. Sheila flipped a page on her clipboard. Sadie wrote a statement. "It's mostly about guilt, how she's been torn up over your falling out. There's a letter too addressed to you, but she never sent it. Want to see it?" I hesitated, my fingers twitching in my lap. A letter from Sadie. Part of me wanted to tear it up to keep her out of my head. But another part, the part that still remembered her laugh, needed to know what she'd say. "Yeah," I said finally. "Let me read it." Sheila slid a photocopy across the table, the paper crisp and cold. Sadie's handwriting filled the page neat, but hurried like she'd poured herself into it. I didn't read it yet, just folded it and tucked it into my pocket. It felt heavy, like it carried all the years we'd lost. "What happens now?" I asked. "We're holding them for now," Sheila said. "The sedative's not illegal, but tampering with food is. We'll need more to press charges, but your report's solid. You did the right thing coming to us." I nodded, but her words felt distant. The right thing. It didn't feel right, not when my sister was in a holding cell, not when I was clutching a letter I wasn't sure I could face. I stood thanking Sheila and stepped into the precinct's hallway, the air cooler, but no less stifling. My phone buzzed as I reached the exit, a voicemail from Diane. I didn't play it, but her name on the screen was enough to tighten my chest. She'd be furious, blaming me for Sadie's mess like always. Outside, the city was gray, a light mist settling on my face. I walked to my car, the letter burning a hole in my pocket. Sadie's prank excuse echoed, mingling with the lab's cold facts. I'd wanted answers, and now I had them, but they didn't bring relief. They brought a new weight, a truth I couldn't unsee. My sister had tried to control me, to bend me to her will, and I'd almost let her. I stopped at my car, my hand on the door, and stood there, the mist collecting on my skin, my heart caught in a quiet, heavy freeze. I drove back to my apartment, the city a blur of wet streets and glowing signs. Abigail, 33. My hands steady on the wheel, but my mind a tangle of Sadie's letter still unread in my pocket. The lab results had confirmed it a sedative, a deliberate act. Her prank excuse felt like a cheap mask hiding something uglier. I parked and sat in the car, the engine ticking as it cooled. Diane's voicemail lingered on my phone unplayed. I wasn't ready for her venom, not yet. Inside my place felt different, like the walls had absorbed the weight of the day. I dropped my keys on the counter and pulled out the letter, its edges creased from my grip. I didn't open it. Instead, I called Julian, the investigator I'd hired. He answered on the second ring, his voice all business. "Abigail got something for you." Already I sat at the kitchen table, the chair cold against my legs. "What did you find?" He didn't pause, just laid it out. "Caleb's in deep with gambling debts. Owes a guy in Seattle 20 grand, been dodging payments. Found texts between him and Sadie, him pushing her to reach out to you. Looks like he thought you'd be an easy mark, maybe loan them money if she played the sister card right." My chest tightened, a slow burn spreading. "So the cupcakes were his idea?" "Not exactly," Julian said. "Sadie initiated, but Caleb leaned in hard. Kept texting her to soften you up. One message from her said she felt sick doing it, but he replied, 'We're out of options.' That's dated the day before your birthday." I closed my eyes, picturing Sadie in her bakery mixing batter, her hands shaking as Caleb loomed. It didn't excuse her, but it painted a picture. "Anything else?" I asked, voice low. "Yeah. Sadie's got no direct link to Diane on this, but there's a call log. Diane's been phoning her daily, sometimes for hours. Could be coaching her, could be something else. I'm still digging." I thanked him and hung up, my gaze drifting to the letter. Caleb's debts, Sadie's desperation, Diane's calls. It was a web, and I'd been the fly they thought they could trap. I stood and walked to the window, the city lights smudged by mist. My reflection stared back, older somehow, sharper. I'd acted pushed back, and now the truth was spilling out. But it didn't feel like victory. It felt like losing her all over again. The doorbell buzzed sharp and sudden. I froze, my pulse spiking. It was late past 9. I crept to the door, peering through the peephole. Diane stood there, her coat damp, her face tight with something I couldn't read. My stomach twisted. I opened the door, keeping it narrow. "What do you want?" She didn't smile, just met my eyes, her voice low. "You've gone too far, Abigail. Filing a report. Dragging Sadie into this. She's fragile and you're breaking her." I gripped the doorframe, anger flaring, but cold controlled. "Fragile. She drugged my cupcakes, Diane. You don't get to spin this." Her lips pressed thin, and for a moment I saw a flicker of surprise, like she hadn't expected me to know. "You're wrong," she said, but it lacked force. "She's your sister. You're supposed to protect her, not tear her down." "Like you protected us," I shot back, my voice a blade. "You turned her against me. Fed her lies about the house, about Mom. This is on you." Diane's eyes narrowed, but she didn't argue. She just stood there, raindrops clinging to her hair, and the silence between us was worse than words. I saw it then, the crack in her armor, the way her hands trembled slightly. She wasn't here to fight. She was here because she'd lost control, and she knew it. I shut the door without another word, my heart pounding. Back at the table, I picked up Sadie's letter but didn't open it. I didn't need to. Julian's findings. Diane's visit, the lab's truth, they were enough. I'd pulled the thread, and their whole plan was unraveling, but it left me hollow. I sat there, the apartment quiet, my fingers tracing the letter's edge, and felt the weight of it all settle in a heavy, wordless ache that swallowed me whole. Sunday morning broke soft over Portland, the sky a pale wash of blue after days of rain. I'm Abigail, 33, standing by a lake just outside the city, the water still as glass, reflecting bare trees. My boots crunched on the gravel path as I walked, a notebook tucked under my arm. The chaos of the past weeks. Sadie's cupcakes, the sedative. Diane's doorstep ambush had quieted, not gone, but distant like a storm that's passed. I was here to breathe, to find something steady inside myself. I found a bench by the water's edge, its wood worn smooth by years of visitors. Sitting, I opened my notebook. its pages half filled with scattered thoughts from sleepless nights. I hadn't written much since Mom died, but lately I'd felt the urge to put things down to make sense of the tangle in my chest. My pen moved slowly, tracing memories of her. Not the big moments, but the small ones. Her humming off key while chopping carrots the way she'd tuck a strand of hair behind my ear and call me her thinker. Those were the pieces I'd lost when Sadie and Diane sold the house, the pieces I was trying to reclaim. The lake rippled as a breeze stirred, and I paused, watching a pair of ducks drift across. I'd come here alone, needing space from Harper's well-meaning check-ins, from the weight of Julian's updates. He'd texted yesterday saying Sadie had checked into a mental health facility. Her bakery shuttered for good. Caleb was gone, vanished to dodge his debts. I'd expected to feel vindicated, maybe even smug, but instead there was just a hollow ache. Not for them, but for the version of me who'd believed we could be whole again. I wrote about that too, the girl I'd been at 20, laughing with Sadie over late-night pizza, planning a future where we'd never drift apart. That girl didn't know about betrayal, about how grief could twist love into something sharp. Writing it down didn't erase the hurt, but it softened its edges like smoothing a crumpled page. I wasn't that girl anymore, but I wasn't broken either. I was Abigail, learning to carry both the pain and the strength it had forged. A voice broke my thoughts. "Mind if I join you?" A man stood nearby, maybe 60, in a ranger's jacket, his face creased with years of sun. His name tag read, Miles. I nodded, scooting over, and he sat resting his hands on his knees. "Quiet spot," he said, gazing at the lake. "Comes in handy when life gets loud." I smiled, small but real. "It's been loud lately." He chuckled, a warm, low sound. "I hear that. Had a sister once, drove me up the wall. We fought over everything, money, parents, you name it. Took years to see she wasn't the enemy, just hurting like me." His words landed gently, stirring a question I hadn't voiced. Was Sadie my enemy, or just lost in her own wounds? I didn't answer him, just watched the ducks dive and resurface. Miles didn't push, just sat there, his presence steady like the lake itself. After a moment, he stood, tipping his hat. "Hope you find what you're looking for out here." I thanked him, my voice soft, and he walked off, his steps fading into the gravel's crunch. Alone again, I turned back to my notebook, my pen hovering. I wrote one last line. "I'm not her keeper, but I'm keeping me." It felt like a vow, quiet but ironclad. I closed the book, my breath slow, the lake's calm seeping into me, a fragile peace I hadn't known I could find. I left the lake and drove home, the Portland sky fading to a soft gray, Abigail 33. My notebook on the passenger seat, its pages holding more of me than I'd expected. The city felt quieter, or maybe I did, like I'd shed a layer of noise I'd carried too long. Back in my apartment, I stood in the living room, the space small but mine, every corner chosen by me. I wasn't running from Sadie anymore, or from the hurt she'd left. I was here whole. I walked to a shelf where I kept a single photo of Mom, her smile caught mid-laugh, flower on her cheek from a baking day. I'd hidden it away after the house was sold, too raw to look at. Now I took it down, my fingers tracing the frame's worn edges. I set it on the kitchen counter, deliberate, like planting a flag. This was my claim, not on a house or money, but on her memory, one Sadie couldn't touch. The urge to bake hit me sudden and strong. I hadn't touched an oven in years, not since those summers with Mom, but tonight it felt right. I pulled out flour, sugar, eggs, moving by instinct. No recipe, just memory guiding my hands the way Mom's used to guide mine. I mixed batter for cupcakes, plain vanilla, no frills. The smell filled the apartment, warm and clean, nothing like Sadie's tainted gift. These were mine, made for me by me. While they cooled, I sat at the table with a pen and paper. Sadie's letter, the one from the police, was still in a drawer, unopened. I didn't need it now. Instead, I wrote to her words I might never send. I forgave her, not for her sake, but for mine, to let go of the anger that had chained me. I set boundaries, two clear ones: no more games, no more lies. If she wanted back in, it'd be on my terms, not hers. The pen felt light in my hand, each word a release, a quiet carving of my own space. I frosted the cupcakes simple swirls, no flowers, no tricks. The act was small, but it anchored me a reclaiming of joy Sadie had tried to steal. I ate one that tastes sweet and honest, and felt a knot in my chest loosen. I wasn't erasing the past, but I was building over it brick by brick. My phone buzzed a text from Reese, an old friend from high school, who'd known me and Sadie before everything broke. She'd heard about the bakery closing, wanted to check in. I invited her over, and when she arrived, her hug was warm grounding. We sat with tea talking about old times, not the fights, but the good days. Sadie sneaking us into a concert, the three of us laughing until we couldn't breathe. Reese's stories softened Sadie's edges, not enough to change my mind, but enough to let me see her as human flawed like me. Diane's voicemail was still on my phone unplayed. I deleted it without listening. Her words didn't matter anymore. She'd lost her grip, and I was free not because I'd won, but because I'd chosen myself. Reese left, and I stood at my window, the city below, a scatter of lights. I breathed slow, the air clean, my heart steady. I was Abigail, not healed, but healing, and that was enough for now. 6 months later, I'm Abigail, 33, standing in my new apartment, the light spilling through wide windows onto bare wood floors. Portland hums outside a city I've claimed as home in a way I never did before. The walls are fresh, painted a soft cream, and my furniture is sparse but chosen with care. A thrifted armchair, a table scratched from someone else's life. This place is mine, not haunted by Sadie or Diane or the house we lost. It's a beginning quiet, but real. I've built new rhythms, small anchors to keep me steady. Mornings start with coffee black sipped while I read a page of poetry. Something Mom loved, but I never understood until now. The words don't fix anything, but they sit with me like a friend who doesn't need to talk. I've kept the baking habit too, not cupcakes, but bread, sourdough, rye, things that take time and patience. Kneading dough feels like mending each push and fold, a way to work through what lingers. Work's different now. I'm still at the same office pushing papers, but I've started speaking up, pitching ideas, letting my voice carry weight. My boss Gregory noticed, gave me a project to lead. It's not glamorous, just spreadsheets and deadlines, but it's mine to shape. Last week, a coworker, Layla, pulled me aside, said she saw a spark in me she hadn't before. I smiled, not sure how to explain that the spark was hard-won, born from nights of doubt and choices I didn't know I could make. Harper's still my rock, her texts a daily pulse of humor and truth. We meet for dinner most Fridays, splitting greasy burgers at a diner, laughing over nothing. She doesn't ask about Sadie anymore, sensing I've closed that door. I heard through Reese that Sadie's out of the facility, living with a cousin, her life a shadow of what it was. Caleb's gone for good, her bakery a faded sign. I don't feel joy at that or anger. It's just a fact, like the weather, something that exists but doesn't own me. I've started volunteering at a community center, a place for people piecing themselves back together, divorcees, recovering addicts, kids from broken homes. I don't lead groups or give advice. I just listen, serve coffee, stack chairs. There's a woman there, Ivy, who runs the program. She's all sharp edges and warm eyes. And last week she caught me after a session, said my quiet presence helps more than I know. I didn't believe her at first, but I'm starting to. Helping others, even in small ways, feels like stitching up my own seams. I wear Mom's ring now, a thin silver band I'd kept in a box for years. It's not about Sadie or the fights over who deserved what. It's about carrying Mom with me, her strength, her flaws. I twist it on my finger sometimes when the world feels heavy, and it reminds me I'm still here, still moving. The past isn't gone, but it's not my cage anymore. I've learned to live with its weight, to let it be part of me without pulling me under. Standing at my window, I watch the street below, people hurrying to work, a dog chasing its tail. The world keeps turning, and I'm part of it, not stuck on the sidelines. I breathe slow, the air cool against my skin, and feel a stillness settle, not perfect, but enough. I'm Abigail, not defined by what I've lost, but by what I'm building, one small, steady step at a time. The apartment is quiet now, the evening settling in with a soft hum. I'm Abigail, 33, sitting at my table with a cup of tea, steam curling upward like a whispered promise. The past 6 months have reshaped me not in loud ways, but in the small, stubborn choices that add up. I sent Sadie that letter last week, the one I wrote months ago, not expecting a reply. It wasn't about her response, but about me letting go, setting down the weight of her betrayal without losing the love I once had. I mailed it to her cousin's address, a simple envelope, no return address. It felt like closing a book, not burning it. I've started running in the mornings, not far, just a loop around the block, my breath fogging in the cool air. It's not about fitness, but about moving forward, feeling my own strength in each step. The rhythm of it grounds me, a reminder that I'm not stuck, not tethered to the pain of what was. I pass a corner store where I buy flowers, sometimes not for anyone else but for me. A single daisy in a jar on my counter, bright against the ordinary. Work has shifted too. I've taken on more, not just tasks, but risks, speaking up in meetings, pushing back when I disagree. Layla. My coworker calls it my quiet fire, and I like that. It's not about proving anything to anyone, but about proving to myself that I'm enough. I've stopped looking over my shoulder, waiting for Sadie or Diane to pull me back. They're part of my story, but they don't write it anymore. I think about trust now, not just in others, but in myself. For years I doubted my own heart, let Sadie's choices make me question my worth. That's the real scar, deeper than the house or the cupcakes. But scars don't define you, they're just proof you survived. I've learned to listen to my own voice, to trust it when it says walk away or stay or try again. That's my freedom, hard-earned, and mine alone. Ivy from the community center said something last week that stuck. We were cleaning up after a session, stacking chairs, when she looked at me and said, "You carry your pain well, Abigail. Not hiding it, but living with it." I didn't know how to respond then, but I do now. Living with pain isn't about ignoring it, it's about making room for it, letting it sit beside you without taking the wheel. I'm still learning that every day. The city outside my window is alive, lights flickering like stars against the dusk. I'm Abigail, not perfect, not healed, but whole in a way I didn't think I could be. The lesson isn't grand, it's simple, raw, true. Trust is precious, but trusting yourself is sacred. Pain can break you, or it can build you, and you get to choose which. I chose to build, to keep going, to find light in the small things, a daisy, a run, a life I'm making mine. What's a moment that broke you but taught you to stand taller? Share it below. Let's connect through our stories. If this resonated, hit like, subscribe, or share it with someone who needs it. Thank you for listening, for being here with me. Here's to healing one step at a time and to finding your own light.